Qatari sheikhs today learned the hard way that they were being fools in buying their security from Trump by paying him extortion money of trillions of dollars. This didn't help at all as Israeli terrorists dropped American bombs in Doha. Yes, that's how emboldened these savages have become. They bombed Doha and then boasted about their murderous act. War criminal Benjamin Netanyahu and his fellow terrorist Israel Katz issued a joint statement to flaunt their criminal act. They said that they were targeting the Hamas leadership, which was busy discussing the ceasefire proposals put forward by the US. As expected, slave Arab sheikhs were quick to condemn this attack by Israelis. The Qatari Prime Minister's advisor said, and I quote, "The state of Qatar strongly condemns the cowardly Israeli attack that targeted residential buildings housing several members of the Politburo of Hamas in the Qatari capital, Doha. This criminal assault constitutes a blatant violation of all international laws and norms and poses a serious threat to the security and safety of Qataris and residents in Qatar." End quote. Saudi Foreign Minister said in a statement, and I quote, "The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia condemns and denounces in the strongest possible terms the brutal Israeli aggression and the blatant violation of the sovereignty of the state of Qatar. The Kingdom affirms its full solidarity and support for Qatar, placing all its capabilities at its disposal to assist in any measures it may take, while warning of the grave consequences of the Israeli occupation's persistent criminal assaults and its blatant violations of the principles of international law and all international norms." End quote. Kuwait's foreign ministry too said that the attack violated all international laws and norms, adding that "we renew our position calling for the Security Council to assume its responsibilities in maintaining international security." Jordan, for its part, said that it considered Israel's aggression a serious threat to the security of the Qatari people, adding that "we stand with our brothers in Qatar and fully support them in any steps they take against the aggression." UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said this:
"We are just learning about the Israeli attacks in Qatar, a country that has been playing a very positive role to achieve a ceasefire and release of all hostages. I condemn this flagrant violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Qatar. All parties must work towards achieving a permanent ceasefire, not destroying it."
But what were these morons thinking? I'm talking about slave Arab rulers. I said this in one of my earlier videos that Israeli thirst for innocent blood wouldn't be confined to Gaza. You go and check my earlier videos. I have time and again said this. I had also predicted that soon these white Zionist terrorists would be pointing their weapons towards other Arab countries. But these slave Arabs were busy making Trump happy by paying him blood money, hoping to buy their safety. And what did the Trump administration say? It said that it was aware of today's bombing of Doha. Yes, Trump knew that Doha was going to be bombed, and yet he did nothing to stop his Israeli dogs from committing this atrocious act. It was only a few weeks ago when Trump was speaking to the media during his visit to Qatar, when the Qatari Emir gave him more than $1.5 trillion as well as gifting him a $400 million worth plane. Trump had said this. He has said that Qatar's security was now his responsibility.
You can walk right into Iran. Other countries are much further away, so probably it's not quite the same level of danger, but we are going to protect this country. It's a very special place with a special royal family, and the head of the royal family is two heads of the royal family, really, if you think. Great people. And they're going to be protected by the United States of America, and I think we're not going to have to do it because I believe very strongly in peace through strength. Now, we just gave out in the budget a $1 trillion budget, which is the biggest we've ever done, $1 trillion. Never came close to a number like that. We'd be at 800. It would be at 800 billion. Would be at maybe 900, 910. We never got anywhere close to $1 trillion, but we're doing it.
And this is how Trump paid back the Qatari hospitality. Usually, when you pay a blood money to even a criminal, that criminal fulfills his promises of not hurting you. But Trump has turned out to be an unreliable criminal who has betrayed Qatar despite having extorted trillions of dollars. In fact, if you watch this clip from Sky News, this would give you an idea how Trump and Witkoff deliberately betrayed Qatar. That's why I say you trust these crooks at your own peril.
Well, I'm just looking at Donald Trump's Truth Social feed because that's usually where we hear from him first. Nothing at the moment on the events in Doha. He is here at the White House. He is due to appear on camera in the Oval Office at around 4 o'clock this afternoon. His press secretary, Caroline Levitt, is due to give a news conference, a regular news briefing at 1 o'clock this afternoon, so in a few hours' time. I'm struck by the fact that the Israelis are saying that they had notified the Americans before this strike. You would expect that to be the case, but it doesn't entirely align with the US Embassy in Qatar's statement on X, which says we have seen reports of missile strikes occurring in Doha. The sort of inference of the language used there is that they were somehow surprised by this. So we await clarity on the extent to which the Israelis did, in fact, inform the Americans on it. I've also been speaking to a Qatari diplomatic source here in Washington over the last 10 minutes, who has said the following to me. Says Hamas received the new proposal from us, that is the American-Israeli ceasefire proposal, which was obtained from Witkoff in Paris last week. Witkoff is the Trump's Middle East envoy. It goes on to say the Prime Minister met with them yesterday. They decided to meet again today to discuss the proposal arriving from Turkey. And then it concludes, and this is the key bit, however, as has happened before, the Israelis undermined hopes for peace, further prolonging the war and complicating efforts to bring the hostages back.
Doesn't this remind you of how Trump acted during his so-called peace talks with Iran? On that occasion too, he was publicly engaging Iran with peace talks, but behind the scenes, he was secretly masterminding a savage attack on the Islamic Republic with the help of Israeli terrorists. And you still want to take this guy seriously? This is also a reminder to these Arab slaves who think Trump would treat them with the same respect as he treats a white Jew or Zionist. For Trump and the US administration, regardless of who the president is, Arabs and Browns would always be second-class people. Just imagine, Miriam Adelson, a white Jew and Zionist, paid Trump $100 million, just $100 million, and got the control of the entire cabinet as well as had her say in the appointment of foreign ambassadors. Here was Qatar paying more than $1.5 trillion to Trump, and yet it could not secure its own sovereignty. This is exactly what the Iranian foreign minister was urging the Arab countries yesterday when he said that they needed to be united to stop the Israeli madness once and for all. Imagine what Iran could achieve in the 12-day war all alone without anyone's help. What if all Arab countries come together against the rogue regime of the settler colony, which is the single biggest threat to global peace? But the same Arab slaves were providing safe passage to Israel when the Houthis caused the economic blockade of the Red Sea. Will they learn a lesson after today? I doubt. Not until their slave mentality has gone. Today's bombing also showed that Netanyahu, his gang of dreaded terrorists, and their Western backers simply do not want peace. They don't want a ceasefire. They don't want the release of hostages. Their ultimate desire is to turn Gaza into rubble, expand the Zionist control across the Arab world. Listen to Alistair Burt, former Conservative Minister for Middle East in the UK government. This is what he had to say to the BBC.
The fact that the Hamas leadership has been in Doha for a long time. Israel has known where they've been for a long time. This action could have been taken at any stage. in the past couple of years, at any stage in the past 4 or 5 years. To do it now, while negotiations for a ceasefire are so fragile but important, and when things have been put on the table, and to attack Hamas in Doha, in Qatar, is an extraordinary turn of events. And the initial, my initial reaction is this is the action of a prime minister who does not want a ceasefire, does not want peace, and wants to continue the war forever.
We still don't know the fate of Hamas leaders who were targeted by Israeli terrorists. But how does that make a difference? What is important here is that how slave Arab rulers react to this episode. Not many have any sympathy to their utter humiliation caused by Israeli terrorists. If these spineless slave rulers want to command respect and earn sympathy from the rest of the world, they need to start acting as a united front against a regime controlled by barbarians and baby killers. That's because if they don't respond to the latest episode of Israeli barbarism, the likes of Netanyahu and Trump would make it a new normal. Don't tell me that you were not warned. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.